Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Brunner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, you guys? Happy Tuesday. Dare I say this is the first live stream on this channel before 9 a.m. Certainly a interesting decision. Maybe I streamed at one point when I was doing the 5 a.m. wake up thing. I honestly don't remember. But welcome to Fantasy Football Week 6. Hopefully, if you're in survivor pools, hopefully you survived Week 5. I know I didn't. I picked the Arizona Cardinals. Luke, who's doing the survivor picks on our channel, didn't because he picked the Rams. Both lost in embarrassing, unexplainable fashion. We got the Bills that lost. That was a popular pick, I'm sure. Chiefs, I'm sure, were a popular pick. They felt like a lock last night against the Jags. If you survived, congratulations to you. And if you're surviving fantasy football so far, if you have a winning record, congratulations to you. The number of injuries to star players is alarming. The amount of underwhelming performances is alarming. We're going to talk about fantasy football waiver wire pickups to hopefully turn your season around if you are struggling. And what I do want to do is take a look back. We're 5 weeks through the season, right? 5 games through the season. I want to go back, take a little look at the ADP from 5 weeks ago, before the season started, where people were drafted. And let's just take a look to see who and how many panned out in even the first 3 rounds. Maybe we'll do 2 rounds, but we're going to talk about waiver wire stuff first. If you have any questions, if you're watching live, I'm interested to see if there's anybody who wakes up early here and joins us, But if you have any questions live, definitely ask and we will answer. We, as in me, myself, and I. And then if you're watching after the fact, which I imagine plenty of you are, then ask questions, then drop them in the comments, and I will try to do my best to answer all of them today as well. Of course, you can go over to flurrysports.org. Let's take a look at this, flurrysports.org. Henry has his waiver wire column that just came out this morning. Go and read this. He has 5 questions for you to start out. I thought he had a pretty good intro there. But we got a bunch of waiver wire pickups from Henry. So if you don't want to listen to me or if you want a second opinion, definitely go and read that. And then my snap count article came out yesterday as well. If you're a member, $5 per month, just click the Buy Me a Coffee link, buymeacoffee.com/Zach Brunner. $5 per month, $35 per year. You get a bunch of stuff, including the Opportunity Index, which is already out. In fact, this is the Opportunity Index for those who don't know. Lots of information there in terms of measuring how much opportunity a player has to score fantasy points. It's definitely good for buy low, sell high opportunities. Lots of information to come from that. But if you want to become a member, you can get that. If you want to become a member, you can get the full snap counts here for yourself as well. Or you can get about half of them if you just go to flurrysports.org. Looks like that TikTok's not showing. That's weird. But definitely go and check that out. Or use code Flurry at SeatGeek if you want to get a ticket purchase. Why not? One other thing I want to talk about before we get going is it's Amazon Prime Day. And if you want to support the channel, all you have to do is scan the QR code that's on the screen right now. That's it. That's it. If you're going to shop on Amazon whatsoever, just click our link and then, a portion of whatever you spend on you, and you don't need to spend any extra. You don't need to do anything else. Just whatever you spend, we get a little bit of a kickback. It may be 10 cents. And you know what? That is fine. I love dimes. Go to a store, you go to the mall, you see a dime. That's great. That's great. It does not matter how much we get here. Just scan the QR code And anything you get on Prime Day, I think it's for 2 days. I think Prime Day is 2 days. But they got some interesting deals right now. So definitely scan the QR code to go see the Prime Day deals. And if you find something you like, buy it and you'll support the site. You'll support the channel. You'll support me, myself, and all of the charity kids that are Flurry sports writers. So definitely go and do that, please. And let's talk fantasy football now. So a lot of underwhelming performances this week. Some more injuries. We got the Omarion Hampton injury. That was odd. We saw him injure his ankle. He was limping a little bit. It's like, okay, it didn't seem that serious whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, IR stint. So he's on IR. He's missing the next 4 weeks for sure. We will go over our waiver wire rankings and set them live on the show. I'm planning not to do the sleeper fantasy trending players today, just because I don't think we need to. And by the way, usually the stream is on Mondays. For the month of October, it's going to be Tuesdays, just so y'all know, and that's because of work schedule. But I'm not sure if it's always going to be this early. But if you like it this early, please let me know. But yeah, Omarion Hampton on IR. That means Hassan Haskins and Vidal are the two healthy running backs. If I'm choosing one, it's Haskins. It certainly seems like they want Vidal to be that change of pace guy more than anything. So I think he's going to be a complimentary back no matter who the starter is. I think they'll both get run. And would it be surprising if the lead back, while Omarion Hampton is out, is not currently on the roster? Would not be surprising. I think on the practice squad, they currently have Jared Patterson still. I like him a lot. He's a really strong runner. And I think he could provide a decent amount for the Chargers. However, I mean, Gus Edwards is out there. Obviously, he's been there and has been a part of this offensive scheme for a number of years in multiple cities. Jamal Williams is out there. I think he's still one of the best pass protectors in the league. He can run a bunch of routes. And I think if the Chargers are looking just for pass protection up front, especially with the two tackles out, he is somebody who makes a lot of sense there. But there's going to be some move that happens in this backfield, and I'm not fully convinced Hassan Haskins is going to be the waiver wire pickup to, win you a championship, right? I mean, or even just the next month, right? So keep an eye on what they do today. Right now, if I'm picking up a running back there, it's Hassan Haskins, but we shall see. Miggy's got a question. If anyone else has a question, jump in, especially before we jump into our waiver wire rankings. But Miggy has the Lions defense. They play the Chiefs. I'm thinking of dropping Corum and getting the Patriots against the Saints this week. I don't mind that. Blake Corum is firmly a handcuff. He's not somebody who's like a handcuff plus where it's, the extreme example is David Montgomery, right? He's a handcuff, but he has a weekly role as well. Blake Corum is just a handcuff, and I don't mind it. I would certainly try to get him back after, you go back down to one defense or something like that. Depending on who your kicker is, if it's not a difference maker at the position, there's very, very few, I would drop my kicker, pick up the defense, and then right before week 6 starts, I would drop my kicker and then I would drop Corum and pick up my kicker at that point. That way, nobody really has a chance to pick up Corum because then he'll go on waivers. And no harm, no foul. You'll probably get your exact same kicker back anyway. But regardless, you're probably not seeing a drop off there. You protect Corum a little bit, and that's a good strategy to take. But overall, I'm fine with dropping Corum. I would certainly look to get him back at some point, though, especially if you have Kyren Williams. Okay, let's do this. Fantasy Pros waiver wire rankings, just showing I haven't started this whatsoever. We're going to start with what they are deeming the consensus for this week, and I clicked week 6 rankings. Now, waiver wire rankings. Let's try that one more time. Okay, Fantasy Pros waiver wire rankings. Add rankings. Is that what I'm supposed to do? Okay, great. Let's go position by position, then we'll give our overall top 5 or 10 or so. But let's start with quarterbacks. This week, we got the Texans and the Vikings on bye. So chances are you're not really missing your quarterback unless it's a 2-quarterback league. Sounds like McCarthy's going to be the starter after the bye anyway, so feel free to drop Wentz if you've been rolling with him. Again, not a must drop because maybe he starts still, but he is someone who is more expendable than the typical quarterback on bye. And then CJ Stroud has been a drop candidate. You're probably not rolling with him whatsoever. Realize I don't need my headphones. I'm not talking to anybody. Okay, so these are the 5 quarterbacks here. And we got Jackson Dart playing on Thursday. Tua plays the Chargers. We got Michael Penix versus the Bills on Monday. Bryce Young and Spencer Rattler. I can't add anybody else. Matthew Stafford is somebody who's owned in fewer than 60% of leagues, I think. At least on ESPN. He would be somebody I'm looking to add over all of these players if at all possible. But if I'm picking just one, I'm leaning towards Bryce Young. I don't mind Michael Penix. Obviously, the Bills are probably going to bounce back a little bit after a loss. Bills are on the road, though, which is a very different Bills team. I'm not loving Jackson Dart versus Philly on a short week. That doesn't make me feel good. Tua's not very good. Andy has a somewhat hard matchup. And then Spencer Rattler against the Patriots. I don't really need to target him against the Patriots, but he could be better than these guys. I'm going to go with Dart as number 3 just because of his rushing upside. Kind of gives him a higher floor. Tua's been bad. Spencer Rattler is bad. So of these, I'm okay with adding Bryce. Penix is an interesting speculative add here. Look for Stafford above both of them, though. Okay, running back, what do they have for us? They got Kenneth Gainwell, who people are freaking out about, but with Jalen Waddle back, Jalen Waddle is going to get run. I mean, just a quick look at the opportunity index. You can get the whole thing if you, become a member. Jalen Warren, 18.3 looks per game. And then looking at red zone looks per game, Jalen Warren has one of the highest rates, 4.3 red zone looks per game. And the last time we saw him, he was outstanding after Rodgers and Tomlin said, we need to get this guy more work. Obviously, he was out 2 weeks ago before the bye week. And Kenneth Gainwell played great. And I think Kenneth Gainwell gained more of a role. But let's not forget how much they love Jalen Warren and said they needed to feature him more. So I don't know if we need to go crazy over Kenneth Gainwell, especially against the Browns. Doesn't make much sense to me. So he's certainly not going to be our number 1. We got Michael Carter, who I think is the lead back of a committee there. Brian Robinson Jr. is squarely a handcuff, but after that huge workload game for Christian McCaffrey, never know. Kareem Hunt, we've been talking about it. If you've been reading my snap count article, if you've been listening to me speak, if you've been looking at the opportunity index, whatever it may be, any bit of content I put out, I've let you know that Kareem Hunt's the RB1 there in terms of fantasy football. And what we just saw on Monday Night Football just solidified that it was not any new news. So he's above Pacheco. Does that mean he's a start on my fantasy team? No. But he is an okay flex option, especially in a bye week fill-in. Tyler Algier squarely a handcuff. He only gets run when the Falcons are up and they're grinding out the clock. Tajay Spears just came back, so he should be ingratiated into the offense a little bit more. He's a good player. We'll see what happens. Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller's snaps have gone up every single week. And apologies if I get the stat wrong. I believe it has risen to 39% of the snaps this past week. Continues to go up, steady rate every single week, though. I think it's risen from 15% to 39% from week 2 to week 5, if I'm correct. I definitely looked that up, so it's probably correct. Alvin Kamara, very clear trade candidate for the Saints. So he could get, traded out of town. Kendre Miller all of a sudden is a great player already anyway. But even with Alvin Kamara there, Kendre Miller's snaps are going up. He is at the very least splitting early down work. Kamara is still, a passing down, 2-minute, third down guy. But Kendry Miller very quickly can be getting all of the goal line touches. He could be the early down guy. So definitely add him. Think about him. Because, yeah, he skyrockets potential. Damper your expectations a little bit because it's still a bad offense. But skyrockets relatively if Alvin Kamara gets traded away. So I'm not reordering these yet. I'll do that at the end. Sean Tucker is, he sees a higher role with Bucky Irving out. Sounds like Bucky Irving's out at least one more week. And they earned that. Rashad White earned that. The Buccaneers earned that by getting a win and playing well. So Sean Tucker, he didn't get very many touches last week. 3 carries, 3 receptions. Doesn't move the needle for me in a high-scoring game. Who cares? Rashard Smith continues to see more work as the passing down guy there for Kansas City. Isaiah Davis. Obviously, Braylon Allen is essentially out for the rest of the season. Isaiah Davis was the receiving back kind of already anyways. Obviously, Breece Hall is the receiver as well. But Isaiah Davis has looked good, and he catches the ball well. He had 1 carry. He had 4 targets, though. They should use him more, in my opinion. They should use both running backs a little bit more creatively and a little bit more. They should play together. They should have Breece Hall split out and have Isaiah Davis in the backfield more often. That would just get more good players on the field for the Jets. Expect to see that at some point. They play the Broncos this week overseas. I don't love that matchup, but decent chance the Broncos are winning, and maybe Isaiah Davis sees more targets. So in terms of a bye week fill in at flex, you could do worse. Kyle Monangai, I always like to look at rookies coming off of a bye. It's an early bye, but it's a good way to help them catch up, get caught up to speed a little bit. Okay, we review what you've done already for the first month of the season in the league. What changes can you make? What things could you do a little bit better? How can we get you a little bit more involved into the offense? That is what they're looking at for some of these rookies. And Kyle Monangai has seen his playing time go up a little bit. He hasn't been impressive. He's not an impressive player. He's not athletic. He went to Rutgers, which is not impressive to me. They shouldn't even be in the Big Ten. So I don't love Kyle Monangai. But with all these running back injuries, he could certainly be on the rise in terms of workload. So speculative ad. And that's about it. Could he end up being a bye week fill-in at flex? Maybe. But I don't think his touchdown upside is very high, and he's not getting that much work, and he's not being efficient with the work. 7.64 for carries, not catching the ball, doesn't move the needle much. And then we got the 2 Chargers running backs. Again, I think both of them need to be added. I would lean towards Haskins. But the matchup, man, we just saw Rico Dowdle run for 200 against the Dolphins. So what's to say that one or both of these Chargers running backs can be fantasy relevant? Okay, so ranking these players that Fantasy Pros is giving me, and it looks like this is the consensus ownership from ESPN and Yahoo. I'm guessing they had to be owned in under 50% or something. But I'm going to go Michael Carter 1, I would say. Kendry. I'm just going to start ordering these, okay? So Kareem Hunt's above Robinson. Kareem Hunt's probably above Gainwell for me, to be honest. Tajay Spears is above Algier. He's above Robinson just because they're very clear handcuffs. They have no week-to-week value. They're very clear handcuffs, though. So if you have one of their starters, you need to own them. If you have Bijan, you need to have Algier. If you have McCaffrey, you need to have Robinson. Otherwise, they're fine to have at the end of your bench. But I do my waiver wire rankings mostly for, at least at this point in the season, mostly for the players who can actually contribute for you, not players that you're just looking to trade away, which is kind of what they are. So I balance it a little bit, but certainly weighing it towards streamer value, plug and play value, stuff like that. Sean Tucker is going to be at the very end. I know that. Isaiah Davis is up here. Isaiah Davis is probably at least 4 for me because he's got long-term value. He's got handcuff value. He's got every week value. He could even potentially be above Hunt. We'll see. Let's go. Did Brashard Smith carry the ball? He had 1 carry last night. Let's go with. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm gonna go with Monungai as my second worst. Algier is my third worst. Robinson as 4th. Tajay Spears at the end of the day, I think he's a pretty good player, but he's injury prone and on a bad offense, so we don't need that. Honestly, he might be below Brian Robinson because of that reason. Kenneth Gainwell, I still think people are freaking out a little bit too much over. He's not the pickup. He's not that guy. So I'm going to put him there. Vidal will stay at 7. And I will put Haskins at, I'll put him at 2. And obviously, if we get any news about Gus Edwards or somebody else signing with the Chargers, this throws us for a complete loop. We are recording this on Tuesday morning. No other running back has been signed to the Chargers. As of right now, I'm making this pickup thinking I'm picking up Haskins and I'm playing him in my starting lineup against the Dolphins. If I am picking up Haskins as a running back 4 or 5 on my team, zero plan to play him, probably can't even really trade him, then there's no reason to pick up Haskins. You're picking up Haskins to play him this week, or you're picking up Haskins hoping he plays a bunch against the Dolphins and then you can flip him quick in a trade. That's what I'm doing that for. And it's possible. That is a very possible thing to do. So, that's something a lot of people did with Woody Marks last week, or at least should have. Woody Marks is still going to be very much involved. I just think his value was the highest it could possibly be last week. That's something that's nice to do. Rico Dowdle, if you pick up Rico Dowdle this week or something, or if you picked him up last week, no better time to trade Rico Dowdle than now. Something like that. The fantasy football stock market's a beautiful thing. Haskins, if he can have a big week this week, go ahead and trade him. If the hype is high in your league for him, go ahead and trade him. Whatever it may be, Haskins is the number 2 pickup. I'm still going to go Michael Carter as number 1, just because even though that's a committee, he is very clearly the guy. He is very clearly the best runner there. I think DeMercado is a pretty good player, but after that boneheaded play, losing them a week, I think just the separation of Michael Carter on top of that depth chart is bigger. Colts this week, Packers the week after, bye week, and then the Cowboys. After that, I think week 10 then would be the earliest that Trey Benson could come back. Maybe he comes back for that game. I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I think week 10 would be the earliest Trey Benson could come back. And you have a couple okay matchups in there for Michael Carter. Go ahead and pick him up and use him. But I'm happy with those running backs. Let's look at wide receiver. And if you have any questions in the chat, go ahead and ask as well. Receiver here. Interesting names to be sure. Last week, just a couple names that pop out to me. I like Ryan Flournoy a lot. I think he's a really solid player, and he played really well, and I feel like whenever he gets opportunities, he shines. Now, CeeDee Lamb was out, and Kevontae Turpin was out. If either one of them come back, and I would assume Turpin's back, CD I could see missing another week, but it kind of pushes Flournoy to the background again. So he's probably towards the bottom. Kayshon Boutte, did he have 1 catch again? He had 3. He plays a ton of snaps, runs a ton of routes. He just disappears on the field. So he's going to be pretty low for me. Brandon Ayuk, last we heard is he isn't close to coming back. No setbacks, not close to returning. And even when he does return, do we have any confidence in Brandon Ayuk? I don't think I do. Trey Tucker. This is a bad week for fantasy football waiver wire pickups for wide receivers, by the way. Not a good week whatsoever. Any new news on Darius Slayton's injury? Hamstring, estimated DMP on Monday. Obviously, they play Thursday. He is not going to be a pickup for me personally. Let's go with Troy Franklin. Probably should be the number one pickup still. Isaiah Bond is interesting to me. Kendrick Bourne is going to be low. So I like rookies coming off of a bye week. I just said that. So Xavier Hutchinson has his bye this week. He just had a nice game. A lot of people on Houston did against the Ravens, right? He had 2 touchdowns. He only had 3 targets, 3 catches, 3 targets in 4 straight games. But again, he's looked pretty good. We know he's a good player. They drafted him early. They need him to play well. So he's got 5 games under his belt. Now he has an off week where he can do some self-scout, work on the little things that have been preventing him from getting more targets, more playing time. And then after that, we'll see his role grow. The issue is he plays Seattle, not great. San Francisco, meh. Denver, not great. So a couple tough matchups to start coming off of a bye. But I do like Xavier Hutchinson's role going forward. That should only grow. Luther Burden is a rookie just coming off of a bye. And I've been pretty clear and firm on my stance of this isn't the year to own Luther Burden. I think he's very talented. I think for Dynasty, he's good to have. But they love Olamide Zaccheaus, and DJ Moore and Romeo Odunze are the very clear 1 and 2. So there just aren't enough snaps, enough targets, enough opportunity to go around for Luther Burden at the current moment. So my expectations are very low. I think at the absolute best, he's going to be inconsistent. You don't need to own him for a redraft. Now, if there's an injury and he's able to see the field more, he's going to be great. If the Bears get, they lose 3 more games in a row or something and they're mathematically out for the playoffs, essentially, then they're going to start using their rookies more. Then we'll start seeing Loveland get used a little bit more. We'll see Burden get used a little bit more. Potentially even Monungai get used a little bit more. But while they still have a chance and are trying to be competitive, I'm not loving Luther Burden or Kyle Monungai or Colston Loveland. Not the year for them, in my opinion. Now, Burden had that one big week, and he'll have another one. He had that 3-catch, 101 yards, touchdown. Like, he'll have another big week, but you're not going to be able to predict it. And if you can't predict it, you're not going to play him. If you're not going to play him, why own him? Right? The ability to be predictable in fantasy football is huge. If you can't trust that, Luther Burden's going to do you one of two things, essentially, if you start him. He's either going to lose you a matchup or he's going to win you a matchup. And it certainly seems like it's like a 25-75 that he's going to lose you it. So why make that risk right now? There's no point. He's an interesting tournament play for DFS, but that's about it. Okay, so we got Troy Franklin 1. Trey Tucker, he's pretty firm in his role, and that's enough to put him at number 2 for me. I think that's fine. Darnell Mooney, I think, should come back and play right away. He's got Buffalo. I like that. He's a really good player. He's just been hurt all year. I'm nervous it's going to keep happening with like these soft tissue injuries and stuff. But if he isn't hurt, people disrespect Darnell Mooney too much. He's a really good player. So I'm fine with him at 3. Marquise Brown is what he is. Josh Downs is what he is. Darius Slayton has potential to be more, but he's already hurt. Christian Kirk had a good game. 4 for 64. That's nice to see. I like Isaiah Bond's upside, even with a bad quarterback on a bad offense. Okay, how do we order these? What did Josh Downs do? 6 for 54. And that feels, without a touchdown, that feels like a ceiling game, doesn't it? We'll go Marquise Brown there, Darius Slayton there, Josh Downs there. That's how we're going to do it. So we're going to go Troy Franklin, number 1. There hasn't been any consistency there. And I do think Pat Bryant will continue to earn more and more snaps. They like him a lot, the rookie a lot. I would include him on this list over some people down here. His ability as a blocker is just going to earn him snaps. And with how athletic he is, he will start to make plays. So in a deep league, certainly worth an interesting flyer over some of these players potentially. But Troy Franklin, he's got the Bo Nix connection. He's getting snaps. He's a good player. We'll put him at number 1. I don't love him this week. However, if Sauce is on Courtland Sutton, the rest of that Jets defense stinks. So I do think somebody else for the Broncos is going to step up as a receiver. And it certainly could be Troy Franklin. Trey Tucker at number 2. I mean, he's just going to continue to see targets there. And he's a big play threat. Darnell Mooney, if he can stay on the field, he's going to be good. Isaiah Bond is risen the ranks there with Ced Tillman out. Christian Kirk and Hutchinson are both on bye, but I think that their roles on their new teams will continue to grow after the bye. Josh Downs is what he is. If you like what he's been doing, if that's useful to you whatsoever, pick him up, but I don't think he gets much better. Darius Slayton could get better, but he's on a short week. He's injured. Not a great offense. Not much upside there. Marquise Brown, his stock just continues to get lower and lower as the Chiefs get healthier and healthier. Luther Burden, he's a rookie. He's got too many people ahead of him. There's too many targets, too many mouths to feed. Not loving that. Kayshon Boutte's on the field a ton, runs a ton of routes. He just disappears. And then we got the others there. Kendrick Bourne, if you can pick him up and trade him, he's another one of those Rico Dowdle types. Just had an 11 target game. That's going to be the best game he has for the rest of his career. Now, with that Mac Jones connection, I think he will continue to play snaps even when everyone is healthy. But to even expect a 4 for 38 performance is going to be unlikely once everyone's healthy. And I assume Ricky Pearsall's back this week. Week 7, they get George Kittle back as well. So, temper expectations. He's probably above Ryan Flournoy. He might be above Booty, but I mean, he's in this section, right? Let's move to tight ends. Okay. Brenton Strange, watch this injury. He obviously was ruled out with a hip injury, I believe, last night. Does not say, but I mean, yes, he was ruled out. I believe it was a hip injury. Evan Ingram had a touchdown. I was going to say he had a decent game. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. 4 for 33, 6 targets. That's good. 7 and 6 targets past 2 weeks. That's good. Who's off this week? They got the Vikings and the Texans are off. So Dalton Schultz has been decent, and then decent chance you've been starting TJ Hawkinson as well. So you may be looking for a bye week fill-in. Harold Fannin continues to run just barely over half of the Browns' routes, which severely caps his upside. Brenton Strange is going to be last because he's hurt. Taysom Hill is going to be 6 because a lot of mouths to feed there. I don't know how. We need to see him play a consistent role in this new offense, right? This week he had some carries. I don't think he had any targets, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Taysom Hill. He's an interesting add in 2 quarterback leagues just because there's a chance. There's a chance, I suppose, he takes over for Spencer Rattler at some point. I don't think that happens, but never know. Is Evan Ingram my number 1 pickup? I mean, I'll do this. AJ Barner, I love him. The Seahawks love him even more because of his blocking ability. He's going to stay on the field. And then he's athletic enough to make plays. We just saw he had a touchdown, then 2 touchdowns this past week. Touchdown week before that, right? Yeah. 7 targets. I don't know how likely that is. I don't think that's going to be overly consistent, but I do like him a lot. But he's going to stay at number 5 for me. This is going to be the shocker, the bold take that the fantasy community will disagree with. But Harold Fannin, until he runs more routes, he is number 4. He is number 4, and he potentially probably should be number 5. But I do think there's upside there. They could trade David Njoku, I suppose. But if he's running barely over half the snaps, I don't care. I just don't care about him. There isn't much upside further than this unless his playing time goes up. And we're talking with Said Tillman out. Harold Fanning could be moved all over the lineup, right? He plays outside. He plays in the slot. He plays tight. And even still, when their number 2 receiver goes out, his workload doesn't go up. So what's that tell us? I'll go with Evan Engram at 1. I have Mason Taylor at 2. He is just seeing his role grow, his confidence grow. He's a very solid player. And you know what? I'm actually going to put him at number 1. Theo Johnson, with the Malik Neighbors injury and with the rookie quarterback starting with Jackson Dart. Rookie quarterbacks we see all the time. They like to target that easy target underneath. They like to throw to the big-bodied guy, the high percentage completions to the tight end. And we're seeing it with Theo Johnson. We're seeing it with both tight ends. Honestly, they've been running more 2 tight end sets with Daniel Bellinger as well. But with those 2 games with Jackson Dart, 5 targets, 7 targets, 9 catches total. Found the end zone in both games, which is great. That certainly has saved his fantasy value. He has the Eagles twice, the Broncos, and the Niners over the next month. I don't love that, but, you know, I'm debating moving him down to 5 because of that stretch, because I don't feel comfortable starting him in any of those games. You know, I'm going to do that. I like Theo Johnson as a ad moving forward, but you're probably not playing him this week. And anyone who picks him up is probably dropping him over the next month. So if you really want him, you can wait, I think. However, if you are in a league that's deep, PPR, maybe tight end premium for receptions, and you just need someone who's not going to lose you a week, I think Theo Johnson's role is really safe. Obviously, he has touchdown upside. If they get into the red zone, he can definitely see those targets. And he should continue to see 3 to 6 targets per game. So low ceiling, high floor at the tight end position is Theo Johnson, I think. But yeah, those are the tight ends. I think that's fair. Now, this week, we got the Vikings off. Vikings and Texans, 2 legitimate defenses that you may be looking for bye-week fill-ins for. Colts at number 1, Packers at number 2, Patriots at number 3. That is very fair, given the matchups, right? Packers had a week off to prepare to get their shit in order a little bit before facing the Bengals. Bengals aren't committing to a quarterback. However, I would be surprised if it's not Jake Browning, to be honest. And it sounds dumb, but I don't think it's really been Jake Browning's fault. He's been flustered, but I think it's a coaching thing for sure. And then I think it's an offensive line thing. But you can scheme up plays to make the pass rush less crazy. You can move the pocket around a little bit. You can slide protection certain ways. And the Bengals aren't doing that. They've never done that. And that's why Joe Burrow gets killed. That's why Jake Browning's getting killed. And Jake Browning can manage that pressure getting hit much worse than Joe Burrow and many other starting quarterbacks. And that's what resulted in last week. So I think better days ahead for Jake Browning. If they get any sort of protection against the Packers, they will destroy the Packers secondary. But I still have a decent amount of faith in the Packers getting home against that Bengals offensive line. I don't know what the fuck the Cardinals are, though. So I'm going to go with Colts number 1. Saints have been tricky. Saints have been a little annoying. So I am going to keep the Patriots at 3. This is a fair order, to be honest. I think I'm going to put the Raiders at 4, Jaguars at 5. But yeah, that's pretty straightforward. And then kicker, you could be missing a couple decent kickers for sure. Fairbairn is a good one. Bills against Falcons indoors. That's a very good streamer matchup. And honestly, I think the Steelers can move the ball against the Browns, especially coming off a bye. But I think the Browns defense is good enough to lock down the red zone. So Boswell is a good pickup there. Otherwise, Carlson will be good. McManus potentially could be good. Again, we're looking for offenses that can move the ball in games where it should be close or the team will be winning, but maybe they don't finish in the end zone for touchdowns. So that is what we are looking for. Take a look at whoever the Colts pick up. I'm not sure if they made a pickup yet, but their kicker is out for the rest of the season, and they're a good offense to have a kicker for. So I would potentially take their kicker at number 3 here, whatever decision they make. I'm not a Jason Myers guy whatsoever. So I'll keep him at 5 because I don't want Chad Ryland either. Okay, let's order our top 5 or our top 10 here for overall fantasy football waiver wire rankings. It's giving us the Colts by default, but no, it's Michael Carter. We're going to go Michael Carter at 1. We will go probably Hassan Haskins at 2 at the current moment. Again, Chargers have not signed anybody, but we will do that. Like I said before, bad week for wide receivers, and that's going to show because I think Mason Taylor is the number 3 pickup. Number 4, I'll go with Troy Franklin as number 4. I think that's fine. I will take the Colts defense at 5. I will take Kendre Miller at 6 because of that upside, because of the way that is trending in that backfield for New Orleans. I think Evan Ingram's an okay pickup as well. Put him at 7. Spoiler alert, there's going to be no kickers in my top 10. And that is because you can stream kickers and there's going to be plenty that you can pick up that are unowned, right? The new Colts kicker is a top 3 kicker pickup this week, and he is 0% owned. We don't even know who that is yet. So we are not going to put a kicker up here. In fact, go ahead and move these guys down. Okay. Next up, I think I would go, it depends on what you need, but let's go Bryce Young at 8 over Trey Tucker. We don't need that. Kareem Hunt is fine. Kareem Hunt's at least in this area. What did Trey Tucker do last week? 4 for 64. We'll keep Trey Tucker at 8, and he's going to be the last. What's going on? Keep him at 8. We'll go Packers at 9, and then we'll go Kareem Hunt at 12, Isaiah Davis at 13. So this is my top 16. I think this is set. Patriots are probably close to like here-ish. But these are my waiver wire rankings. If you are in need of a running back, you definitely have options this week. If you are in need of a wide receiver, you probably want to make a trade. I don't think there's many good options out there, depending on your league. You know, we're looking at players who are owned in pretty much, it looks like 50% or less, other than kicker. So there's a lot of those players in between that 50 to 60% range that are out there that are very much a tier above what we see here. So there are receivers out there. Go take a look. But I'm not rushing to pick up Troy Franklin, who's my top wide receiver pickup. But if you need a running back, if you need a tight end, if you need a defense, there are certainly options this week. It's just the wide receivers that are a little bit rough. Couple questions here. What's up? Nico, what do you think for a trade here? We got Abuka for Rome and Kamara. My running back room is Pollard and Michael Carter, while I have CD and Worthy at wide receivers. So you are stacked. I feel like you could get more at running back. I don't hate it, but Rome, both Abuka and Rome Waters are going to find its level for both of those guys. They're just scoring touchdowns at too high of a clip. But I do like both of them going forward. And Kamara, I don't love until he gets traded. So I would potentially look for a different running back. But if that is the trade, I don't hate it. And I'm not afraid to trade away Ibuka given the fact that you have CD and Worthy. So, and you would be getting Roma Dunze back. So I would make that trade. I just think you can do better at running back given your need at running back. Kyle Vegas D. So Raiders play who this week? Raiders play the Titans. Yeah, Raiders defense is fine. They're not outstanding. They're fine. I have them at 4 behind the Patriots. I mean, they're not good, right? But given the matchup, they're fine. They're fine. Their secondary is terrible, so give Cam Ward an inch. He's going to take a mile. He's going to find his stride at some point. Going to be against the Raiders' shitty defense. Absolutely possible. Origami Harvest with Waldo as the picture. We got Njoku, Taylor, or Waller for the next 2 games, full PPR. I feel disgusted, but it's Darren Waller. Terrible song, playing on a terrible team. Bad vibes. It's bad vibes. But Darren Waller's used a ton. And honestly, I haven't done my rankings for this week yet. Decent chance he's top 5. Not going to lie. Now, Njoku, again, on a bad team. Rookie quarterback's going to target the tight end more, so he does see a bit of a bump with Gabriel, which is nice. And we saw that last week, given the matchup as well. Mason Taylor's roles continues to rise. So I think Taylor and Njoku are going to be very, very close. But Waller is above them for sure. Obviously, it feels like the injury potential is higher for him. But next 2 games, give me Darren Waller. I'm interested to see really quick what the consensus already. I haven't done my rankings yet, like I said. I want to know where the consensus early is coming in on Darren Waller. Early, they're putting him at tight end 9. And that's against the Chargers. So he has the Chargers and the Browns the next 2 weeks. Not the easiest defenses to play against whatsoever. Njoku would have the Steelers and the Dolphins. I like Njoku against the Dolphins. And then Taylor's got the Broncos and the Panthers. I don't think you could go wrong with any of them. I'm still going to go Darren Waller higher just because he's a larger part of that offense. But PPR, they all will get targets, I think. Okay. Any other questions? Fire them away. The other thing I wanted to do today is take a look at the ADP of the players when we were coming into the season, just to see who has let us down, just to see who has been the best draft picks for those early rounds. I'm not saying who was drafted in the 10th round that turns out to be a starter for me. Who cares? We're not doing that. I just want to know who is doing what they said they were going to do, essentially. Who has come to work? Who's punched in and done what they are supposed to do? I don't know who Todd is. Did you get my trade question? I did not get your trade question. Put it back in here. Yeah, it's not showing up. So let me know your trade question. I'll answer that. But let's take a look at ADP really quick. This is kind of small, but is there a better way to do this? 1 second. Let's see. We can just do this, huh? We don't need the numbers on that side. Okay. Let's take a look at the top 30. I just want to go through who has underperformed, who has lived up to what they're supposed to do. Let's answer a question really quick. Kyle has lost Neighbors, was offered Josh Allen for Caleb in Rome. I think I would do it. I like Rome. I don't love Caleb. I think Rome gets worse than he has been. Caleb is probably going to stay around the same. Or would you rather give Scatabo for Brian Thomas? I think I'd rather give Scatabo for Brian Thomas. Superflex league. Yeah, you could in a Superflex, you could get the world for Josh Allen. Even still. in better days ahead for Josh Allen. Obviously, he's had a tough past month as someone who also owns him in a super flex dynasty. So other quarterback is May. May's great. I wouldn't mind trading May just because I like trading quarterbacks after a primetime matchup where they played well. Obviously, for fantasy, he wasn't overly great, but everyone saw how good he was. There's a chance Drake May's values inflated a little bit. But overall, I would rather give Scatabo for Brian Thomas if we need a receiver and need to make a receiving trade. But you can do more. You can get more for Josh Allen, I think, personally. Okay. Let's take a look at these ADPs here, and then we will get out of here. So we're just going to go one by one. I don't really have a plan. I just want to see who has been good, who has been okay for us. Number one, Jamar Chase. Nope. Obviously, he has not been wide receiver one. And without Joe Burrow, has not been good. He's coming off a decent week, but has not been worth a first-round pick for sure. Bijan's been great. So Bijan has filled his role nicely. He's put up his end of the bargain. Number three, Saquon has not. Saquon has been almost outrushed by, he's been outrushed by Nick Chubb, right? Or almost has. Nick Chubb was declared dead, and they have the same amount of rushing yards, essentially. So Saquon has not been good. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, has been good. Let's look at the leaders. Let's compare leaders and ADP. We'll go running back. We'll go half PPR. I think that's what the ADP was. So Jahmyr Gibbs has been 5. So he's held up his end of the bargain. He's been good. I just clicked something I shouldn't have clicked. Okay. So Jamar Chase, no. Bijan, yes. Barkley, no. Gibbs, yes. CD's been hurt. Not his fault, but that's a no. Justin Jefferson's a no, I think, as well. I think he's about to get better. Where does he rank so far? Justin Jefferson. He's not that low. I must have missed him. 12. I don't know if that qualifies as a bust. Obviously weighted heavily because of the last 2 weeks. I don't think that's a bust. I think Justin Jefferson's been fine enough. Christian McCaffrey's been worth it for sure. Malik Neighbors, no. Amon-Ra St. Brown, yes. Derrick Henry, no. Ashton Genty is finally starting to come around, but I think at the moment the answer would still be no. I think no, he has not been worth that draft pick. Puka, for sure. Nico, no, but it's trending in the right direction now. A-Chain. Is A-Chain a no? A-Chain's close. He has been running back 6, so he has to be a yes. He hasn't been... His numbers are better than how he's been playing, I suppose. So A-Chain's a yes. Brian Thomas is a no. Josh Jacobs is a no. Drake London is probably a yes. He got hurt, which impacts everything. 35 on a points per game basis. He's closer to 20. I'll say no for now. Jonathan Taylor's been worth it for sure. Brock Bowers has not. Josh Allen has not. Where does Josh Allen rank among fantasy quarterbacks right now? Really? Okay, he's been a lot better than I thought he's been. Wow. I don't know why. Is that shocking to anybody else that Josh Allen's number one on a points per game basis? That just tells you everybody's had a bad week so far. And this isn't the Josh Allen. What did he average last year? Probably close to this, but he averaged 22 last year. He's averaged 24 this year, but it's weighted so heavily because of that 38-point game. So has Josh Allen been worth it? I guess the answer is yes. But taking out that one game, he's been around a 20 point per game guy, and that's not worth it, man. That's just comparable to everybody else. The answer is yes on a technicality, I think. AJ Brown, no. Chase Brown, no. Lamar, I guess the answer is yes, but trending in the wrong direction because of that injury. Probably out the next 2 weeks. He has a game this week he's going to miss, most likely, and then he's got that bye week. After that, I think Lamar is going to be great, but I think the answer is yes. Bucky Irving, even though he's missing time now, the answer is yes. Cardin Williams, yes. Ladd McConkey, no, but trending in the right direction. Trey McBride, yes. James Cook, yes. Jane Daniels, no. T. Higgins, no. So if we're looking at the top 30 players, how many were yeses? We got Bijan, 1. Gibbs, 2. Jefferson, 3. McCaffrey, 4. Amon-Ra, 5. Puka, 6. A-Chain, 7. Jonathan Taylor, 8. Josh Allen, 9. Lamar, 10. Bucky, 11. Kyron, 12. McBride, 13. Cook, 14. 14. Less than half of the top 30 players have been worth it. Some trending in the right direction, some trending in the wrong direction. And then Josh Allen, I'm saying, is worth it because he's quarterback 1. But aside from one outlier, he has been comparable to everybody else. So if you drafted him at 20 overall, comparatively, due to the position, he has not been worth it, in my opinion. We're just going to go basic numbers, basic facts that we know. So I guess technically the answer is yes, but in my opinion, he has not been worth it. What do you see, or what do you think about Waddle? Do you see him as a solid wide receiver 2? I'm still not totally convinced about the offense, though. Agreed. I'm not sold on him as a player. Obviously, I hate Tua with every ounce of my being. You're new here, I believe, so you probably don't know that. So very biased there. I just hate Tua as a human more than anything, and a football player. Solid wide receiver 2, though. He's about there. Like, he has to see the targets. He's going to have weeks where he disappears because that's what Jalen Waddle does. I would say solid to low end wide receiver 2. The good news is I think he is safe in terms of, he's not going to have the Jamar Chase effect where Joe Burrow goes out and then he plummets. If Tua gets hurt, Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson play, and I think he's still just as good. So he's a fine wide receiver 2. And then wanted to add a quick note. I watched the game. I can't help but feel concerned about Worthy. He appears to be hindered by the injuries and didn't make many impactful plays. Shoulder was less of an issue last night. It was more of the ankle, which popped up, and he had a real shot to miss the game. There's a real chance Worthy did not play. And then we saw him a few times get banged up, and he just continued to fight through it. So for a receiver who relies almost solely on his speed, ankle injury, not the best thing. So you're right to be concerned. I do think better days ahead. I thought he looked pretty good, to be honest, but overall ceiling is for sure capped. If he's given the opportunity to run out of bounds 5 yards early or fight for extra yardage, given his shoulder, he's just not going to fight for the extra yardage. That's just what he's being told right now, which is fully fair. It's just not great for fantasy, so that stinks. An interesting conversation would be Waddle or Xavier Worthy on a week-by-week basis, and that's very, very close. And I'm trying to think of my answer. I actually don't know. My plan today, by the way, I'm going to edit the waiver wire video and post that. But then I want to do my rest of season rankings. And then from my rest of season rankings, I can derive my trade value chart. So this question will kind of be answered once I do those rankings, but I think I still want Worthy rest of season a little bit more. And I do mean a little bit. They might be back to back. But you're right that he didn't make very many impactful plays. But I think the Jaguars match up pretty well in terms of defending Xavier Worthy. And not everybody's going to have that luxury. Not everyone's going to have a Travis Hunter who can be just as athletic as Xavier Worthy, or some of those other D-backs for Jacksonville are pretty athletic. Not everybody has that, has those players on defense. So I think better days ahead for Xavier Worthy. His ankle will be healthier going forward, hopefully. And both of those guys are going to have some bad games, though. That's just kind of who they are as players, unfortunately. And Xavier Worthy could actually end up getting a decent amount better once Rashee Rice is back. Because if Xavier Worthy is all of a sudden an afterthought, if he's not the focus of the defense, then shit, that's when he becomes dangerous as hell. So Xavier Worthy, I hate putting this term on players, especially because it doesn't mean anything. And people just like to use buzzwords, but I'm going to do it for you right now. Xavier Worthy could be a league winner for you. Whereas I don't think there's really any chance Jalen Waddle is. Jalen Waddle is just a decent depth piece, but Worthy could theoretically, potentially be a league winner when Rashee Rice comes back. The Chiefs need to stay aggressive to get some wins, especially after losing to the Jags, because they don't have that tiebreaker if it comes down to wild card, and they need to win the division or win enough AFC games to get that wild card. So better days ahead for the Chiefs, better days ahead for Xavier Worthy. Waddle, probably about where he is right now. McWhopper, what waiver wire ads would you recommend? Good news for you. I'm going to end the stream and you can just watch it back. And I'm going to edit it and publish a video because we just spent an hour talking about it. But what I will do for you really quick, because I can already tell you're a G. You're good to go. So, where am I looking? Waiver wire rankings. So we just went through this. We went position by position, depending on what you need. I think Michael Carter of these players is the top choice. I wasn't able to edit the player pool. I'm only able to edit where the players are that Fantasy Pros gives me. And that is a major flaw because there's definitely players I would have put higher. And obviously some of it's sorted by ownership, but some of it is just, I don't know who they pick, I guess. But Michael Carter, Hassan Haskins, Kendry Miller, Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Davis, those are my running backs. Bad waiver wire week for wide receivers. I have Troy Franklin at 1, Trey Tucker 2, Darnell Mooney 3. But I would assume if you are on a 12-team or smaller league, there's going to be better wide receivers on waivers than those options. And then tight ends, I think we have some decent options this week. We got Mason Taylor. We got Evan Engram. We got Harold Fannin. We got AJ Brunner. All of them are pretty good. Theo Johnson's pretty good. Defenses, we got some good streaming defenses. We got some good kickers to stream and pick up. Look at the Colts kicker as well. He is not in this player pool because I'm not sure if we know who he is yet. But yeah, those are some names for you. But also, go to flurrysports.org. This is my snap count article, so I would definitely go check that out. That helps with value. But Henry posted an article on here today as well. The best waiver wire pickups here on flurrysports.org. And as you can see, Darren Waller, number 1. And that's because Darren Waller in ESPN leagues is only owned in 48%. So he was not included in the Fantasy Pros pool there. But if Darren Waller is out there for you, go ahead and pick him up. And check out some of these other names that Henry listed. Some of them we talked about, some of them weren't included, but definitely a good article for you. By the way, Waller against the Chargers or Kelsey against the Lions. I kind of want to wait for Waller to perform more so I can sell him for higher. For sure. Yeah, if Waller can turn in another touchdown performance for you, 100% love trading him. trade him before he gives you or he presents the opportunity to let you down, essentially, because he will let you down. Whether it be getting hurt, whether it be just falling off the face of the planet, whether it's releasing another unbelievably embarrassing bad song and music video, whatever it may be, Waller will let you down. But he is such a big part of that offense right now that his last 2 weeks haven't been a fluke. Like, they're just not a fluke. Against the Chargers worries me a little bit. I think you'll see some Derwin James, which I don't love. But I do think I'd still start him over Travis Kelce. It's going to be very close. If you need a high floor play, you just don't need your tight end to screw you over and you'll probably get a win, then I would go Kelce. If you need a pretty big performance, I would go Waller. But yeah, I would for sure pick up Waller. I would for sure hold Waller. He needs to be owned right now. And then hopefully you can trade him to the person who was, rolling with Juwan Johnson or has been waiting around for TJ Hawkinson to be great. You didn't have the expectations for the song. Yeah, that song by Darren Waller. What an unbelievable collapse. Ever since John Gruden left his life, he was just downhill spiral, cheating on Kelsey Plum, getting divorced, releasing the most embarrassing Take Me Back song of all time is essentially what that was. Retires out of embarrassment to pursue the music career, realizing he's not good at music, so he comes back to football, having to join the Dolphins because no other team wants you. A lot of spiral behavior from Darren Waller, but scoring 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks is a good way to get back on track, I would say. And the Dolphins offense needs a tight end. It needs a tight end to be functional. So he came along at the right time, especially with Tyreek Hill getting out. So he will continue to be used. And his snaps went up this past week, which is great. But yeah, definitely subscribe. Tonight, if you didn't like my waiver wire analysis, totally cool. Totally fine. Luke and Ashton are both going to be on for the waiver wire ad drop show tonight, answering more of your questions. Maybe we have more clarity about the Chargers backfield. Maybe we have more clarity about who the Colts kicker is at that point. A lot of questions could get answered throughout the day today. With the way the season's going, we probably have another running back on IR by that point. So definitely come hang out. I think they're probably going to be live around 7 p.m. Central would be my guess. So subscribe so you don't miss that. But go to flurrysports.org for more stuff as well. And we have more shows. Tomorrow night, we got Lombardi Sweep, a Green Bay Packers show. On Thursday, we are live before Thursday Night Football, going over my final rankings, going over some start-sit questions by you guys. It's always a fun one, so don't miss that. The guy who wants Waller, coincidentally, has Johnson and Hawkinson. I mean, there you go. Hawkinson, obviously, I'm by as well. But I was doing everything in my power to sell Juwan Johnson in every single league I had him in last week because I knew 2 tight ends were coming back. But also, man, if anyone was able to sell Juwan Johnson, like at his high value, good for you. In all the leagues I was in, I don't know. With the people I was in, they didn't take him seriously enough. So I couldn't really trade him. So now I'm kind of stuck hanging on to him, hoping for another good week. And I know I have good analysis, but Luke and Ashton will be good too. I know what I do. I am a football coach. I am someone who went to school for sports management and coaching, have background in athletic training. I have an interesting perspective on this fantasy football stuff. Been doing this for a decade. One of the top ranked people on Fantasy Pros last year. So I know I have good analysis, but I also don't sugarcoat some stuff, and people don't like my takes, such as Trevion Henderson will never be a bell cow running back. Said that every week now, and people are still upset with me. Now Vrabel has said he wants Henderson back at kick return. What's that tell you? Also think Jordan Love's bad at football. Sorry about it. I'm only saying that as someone who's watched every single down of his career post-college or post-high school. Is what it is. You want to sell him for AJ. You want to sell Waller for AJ Brown? AJ Brunner? Andre Johnson? I'm not sure which one, but I'm totally cool getting AJ Brown. I'm totally cool getting AJ Brunner as a safe tight end. And yeah, you have a good day too. We're going to hop off here, but yeah, I'm going to edit this. If anyone watching now or after the fact wants to watch an edited waiver wire article or video, rather, this will be posted soon. And subscribe. Go to flurrysports.org for more content. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you have any suggestions for other fantasy content you want to see, please let me know, and we will do that. Otherwise, become a member right here, buymeacoffee.com/Zach Brunner. You get access to the group chat with me. You get access to the opportunity index already updated for this week. You get all of the snap count data and my rest of season rankings hopefully out today as well. So you'll get the rest of season rankings. You'll have the trade value chart, not the opportunity index. The consistency rankings are coming soon. All kinds of good things for members. Members are winning their leagues left and right. And you could be a part of that. Don't be stupid. Become a member, and I'll see you soon.